Evening all. So what I thought I'd do today is talk about some of the FanFest stuff we saw yesterday. If you didn't see the stream, please go check it out on Twitch TV or even check it on CCP's main link. Because it was fascinating. Most of yesterday was about EVE, so I thought I'd start with a bit of an EVE review just to show you our little humble alliance. Look at that, almost 1,000 people, and it's yes, I'm quite proud of that. It's it's quite an achievement considering we started it as an experiment, and I think only now is it starting to even come into its stride. So there's our buddies, our broseths. Don't worry, we're going to do a piece on every single one of them in due course, but here we go, let's play some Dust. Now, I've left this pretty much unedited because I thought what I'd do in this particular video, as I've said, is talk about the FanFest stuff. Now, I think the first thing we'll do is maybe talk about what seems to be the perceived image of Dust at the moment. And I think if you're a Dust player, and you're probably exclusively a Dust player, well then, I think you're in quite a good position actually, because I think when you look at the way that Dust, the FanFest has been positioned, I would say that, you know, I could be wrong, but there is a perceived image here that Dust is pretty much where the investment, the skill, the expertise, and the effort is going from CCP. I think just the way that, you know, Dust seemed to run before EVE almost. You know, the way that FanFest has been just scheduled seems to give Dust a phenomenal amount of prowess when it comes to the discussions, the talk, the keynote speeches, etc., etc. And I think just some of the kind of the heavyweight hitters as well are all generally on Dust. You know, I mean, I don't mean disrespect with that, but you know, some of the teams we've seen so far have really they've all been Dust. They've all been focused upon Dust. And you know, from the EVE keynote last night, which was, you know, it was great fun to watch it. I am a 10-year vet at this game, as I've mentioned many times, and I laughed my arse off as I watched, you know, Hilmar and Rainey and the others talk about the 10 years of EVE, because again I remember seeing this awful artwork box in Game High Street store. And I remember it said EVE, the second Genesis, and I thought, what's this? Now, I just played PlanetSide 1 as my first true MMO, or rather, you know, online game rather, having played Counter-Strike and others for years. I thought, wow, okay, maybe let's give it a go. I bought it, I got it home, I installed it, and then it said, warning, you will need to put your credit card into this. And I must have sat for about 2 days thinking, I'm not doing that. And eventually I just thought to myself, well, you know, I just got a new job, and I thought, well, why not? And but I remember thinking, immediately, if it sucks, I'm going to cancel it immediately. I'm going to go to the bank and cancel it. And literally, you know, I was absolutely vehement about that. And 10 years later, I'm still here now. You know, I mean, I was loving the fact that they rewarded people who've subbed all their lives. That isn't me. I have lapsed my account for a good few days in that 10 years, but I think not months or years, certainly not. But you know, so I've always had an account live. I'm one of these people, I mean, you probably don't know this, I've got 15 accounts. So I'm a serial addict to EVE, I guess, and I just kept, you know, accruing accounts all the time. Some people left the game and gave me them, and I think just generally, you know, I always would think to myself, well, you know, I've got a fair bit of ESGAL game time cards, some accounts, that's no problem. And I've ended up with 15. So I think, you know, I mean, I'm probably going to work it out one day just to see how much money I must have actually paid CCP. For the 10 years of having, you know, initially 1, then 2, then 4, then I think 6, then 7, then 8, then 9, 10, blah, 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 up to 15. And I would love to see how much money I've put behind this company. But I think, again, you know, the thing with these kind of EVE FanFests, again, is to really highlight and show what great, I guess, diverse and unusual company CCP is. And again, you know, I wasn't disappointed last night. I think it really showed what I consider to be a very exceptional, talented group of people whose products I love to buy. So, you know, it's always great to see that. And I think certainly the keynote, when it began with the 10 years of EVE, you know, 2003, really, more or less, was when I started playing when it came out. And I remember playing the first version of it, no battleships in it. It was a very, very different game. Anyway, I think in terms of the Dust, the kind of message that we're seeing from CCP, I think, you know, I don't want to kind of start the old trolling of, you know, oh, EVE's dead, you know, long live Dust and all that. But from my observation, I would probably say that Dust is pretty critical to CCP, and I'm being polite. I think it's exceptionally critical. that Dust is a success. But when you look at what the offering behind Dust is, it's almost difficult to see how it could not be a success. When you play things like Battlefield 2 and Call of Duty and all this stuff, they're great games, but they don't have the attrition. They don't have the kind of metagaming. They don't have what EVE brings. And I think Dust, I just get the impression, is perhaps being lined up to be something of phenomenal critical success and commercial success for CCP, and I think this could drive further developments of so on. But it was interesting seeing the different models, because EVE is a MMO subscription-based pay-to-play game, okay, and Dust is a free-to-play game with microtransactions, and that's about it. So the accessibility is easier on this. More people have, I think, PS3s and play casual games on PS3 than would ever play a game like EVE. I think that's fair to say. EVE requires you to be probably a software programmer who lives in your basement. I'm kidding. But it does require you to be, somebody who enjoys Excel, let's say. And I think that's sort of the difference, because, the thing with Dust is, talk to a lot of people in our club. I was talking to Zbirth yesterday. He's never played EVE. He doesn't understand what it's about, which is really quite typical of a lot of the players. So I think, a lot of people are not necessarily too interested in EVE either, from the Dust point of view. But they like the link. They understand the link. They think it's a cool thing. So what I got the impression of yesterday was, when they did the review of the new patch, yes, it looks very exceptional. But I'm going to get trolled for this. But again, nothing new, really. I think it was all tweaks. I got the impression, and again, the way that people were whooping and things like that just made me think maybe that a lot of the people in the room are probably people who sit and scan 20 times a day. They're probably people who mine ice, all day. They're probably people who have those little frustrations of a software package that, it'd be great if it had a button that when you pressed it said awesome. That'd be good, because I don't have to type it. And it was just those little tweaks and enhancements and fixes that was the majority of the development being done. I think it was disappointing, if I'm honest, that, again, CCP have bought some real heavy hitters to the market. I think in terms of I can't remember the name of the marketing guy, phenomenally good, incredible talker, and he really seems to, and again, the only reservation I'd have is, why would you put the Dust logo on someone's arse? That seems a bit stupid, but hey. But I think they seem to have a good grasp of what they're doing. I think with the EVE development team, they are phenomenally capable, skilled people who've probably played the game for years. But to me, I just got the impression that they've probably been told, right, you're not allowed to do anything new, just to fix, enhance what we've got now, make it look prettier, make it less clicks. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's perfectly fine. But I don't play EVE. I hardly log in, and that's a bad thing, because that's 15 accounts worth of revenue that pretty much is not being used at the moment, which is stupid for me. But when it comes to resub, am I going to resub? No. So this is why I think maybe they need to develop the link between Dust and EVE a bit more. I don't know, but to me, there's no real incentive to bother with EVE at the moment. I'm phenomenally rich. Yes, big head alert, but I've got literally 1.4 trillion ISK probably sat with fun marked on it. So why would I go and explore? Why would I go and run missions? Why would I go and do anything? And that's the problem, and there's no point saying, we'll go build a Titan. I've got 2. Go and build supercarriers. I've got 3. There's no point. This is the thing with the game that I think maybe, they haven't. they're not really making the game for me. That's maybe what I'm trying to say. They're making Dust for me. That's my impression here. Is that the veterans who've pretty much had enough of EVE, they've got everything they want, they've achieved everything they want, they're probably now all playing Dust, and that's where I think there seems to be most of the development money, drive, approach, and effort going, just given again by the fact that they got the first night's speech. That was pretty exceptional that they got that. Just I think also from the types of personalities involved as well, I got the impression that they were really employing talent. I think with EVE, they're kind of giving it to ex-players who work for CCP. That sounds like a troll. I don't mean any disrespect with that, but it didn't come across as a very dynamic, game of being developed by people who are the best in their industry. It came across as a group of fans who who took a job with CCP and they're now developing the game. Maybe it's because I come from the corporate cocksucking world where you're only as good as your pitch. I don't know, maybe that's it. And I think when you look at how Dust was pitched, it was pitched with energy, enthusiasm, experience. It was dynamic. It was shown as something that was, this is really new. There was a passion and an energy behind it. When they presented the new elements of Eve, it was done with stoicism. It was done with, here we go. Isn't that cool? Oh, well, look at this. And I know that the senior producers are probably nervous, and that's perfectly fine, but I didn't get the impression that this was something that they personally had much passion in. I know that sounds horrible, but I just didn't. I watched it and thought, yeah, okay, it's cool. You get you get a ship instead of a can. That's pretty cool. But where's the passion? Where's this kind of drive? And when we spoke about, the next 10 years, what could we do? Colonization, etc. I think the CCP Seagull was maybe just a bit overwhelmed with it because, again, that's where you put your passion. When I saw at FanFest, I think 2005, I think it was, I saw Over do a thing which was basically, this is where we're going. Titans, this is that. And it was just an exceptional delivery of passion, and I've just absolutely received no passion or real kind of interest. It was all a bit kind of cheekily done, trolling kind of way, and I thought it was a waste. It really was. But hey, that's Eve. Eve has become that kind of culture, I guess. But I think with Dust, if you're a Dust player and you're exclusively a Dust player, you're probably very happy. If you haven't seen the FanFest presentations, check them out, because I think you're gonna, the whole development cycle of this game just appears to be focused on Dust more so than anything else. The addition of tank, all the different suits, the addition of all the different things is going to make this game richer, deeper, breadth and broad from what it is now, and it's going to keep going. You're going to see more interaction with planets. You're going to see more interactions with, the various ways to play the game, and that's why I think I got a kind of warm, fuzzy feeling when Dust was on, and I did feel a bit kind of disappointed in a way about what they spoke about Eve, but again, this is part of the problem. You can't keep everybody happy, and you can't keep a bitter veteran like myself happy either. But that's to be understood, because there's probably not a lot they could put in the game right now that would actually draw me back into it in the level that I think they look. They with any product, with any customer, you're basically looking for new sales. You want to retain what you've got, but the energy does go into new. So this is why Dust, as a new game, a new platform, a new product, is receiving the whatever it takes to sell it. And I think that's kind of what the game, I think, or rather what CCP want to achieve is, whatever it takes, let's get Dust out there and let's make it a commercial success, because then it does reduce the amount of reliability there is on Eve. Look at the drama that Eve causes, and therefore CCP have are at risk of, just from a commercial corporate investment risk point of view, having a game which is so prone to risk, to drama and sensation and negative press because of the players who believe they control the game. That is what any company would want to get the hell away from as quick as possible. And I think Dust will cause the odd drama, but you know what? It won't be anything like what we get from Eve. It won't be these huge groups of meta gaming players who feel they can dictate and dominate the game somewhat. I mean, I saw this when I was in Goons, I saw this when I was in Test, and I think it's just the way that the game is kind of held hostage by these large groups and their so perceived media influence. And I think Dust just will not have that. I think as long as the mechanics are locked and rigid and fixed when they can't be manipulated, then pretty much their commercial model is safe. So risk-averse investors like Sony and many others will not back CCP because of Eve. They'll back CCP because of a very strongly locked down product like Dust. So I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a fantastic you know, 10 years for Dust now. I think, you know, it is going to last. I think it's pretty much given that. Already the fanaticism that's shown by quite a high amount of people probably means that this game is already maybe not too far, or maybe even be financially supported by its own microtransactions. So the boosters, the Aurum, all that good stuff is probably now making for you know, a game that is stable as it stands. Now, that's pretty much, I think, is what you need. You need a game that stands on its own two legs. But I can just see this thing growing, and you know, the marketing gentleman, again, whose name I've forgotten, is absolutely right in that the if you can liberate those people playing Call of Duty Battlefield 2, 30 million people, something like that, if you can liberate just 10% of that, then you have a game which just, you know, eclipses Eve in terms of its critical success, in terms of its commercial breadth, and it's going to be something that I think, you know, that will happen. I think I can see it happening, because there aren't too many sci-fi shooters out there, and there certainly aren't any or many that are actually as good as this. So I can kind of see that this is going to be something that you know, hopefully does become the commercial success that I don't know what that dude was doing. The commercial success that CCP want and deserve, because this is, you know, really a great product. So there we go. I think, you know, it's a really good thing to kind of, you know, use FanFest as a bit of a yardstick. You know, last 2-3 years, well, what am I talking about? Every single FanFest that's been done has been primarily about Eve. This is probably the first FanFest, maybe the first, maybe just the second, but probably the first, where Dust has been maybe as prevalent, if not more so. Okay, so I think if you're playing Dust, if you're a fan of Dust, and you're watching this video, you know, as a Dust player, not an Eve player, you should be quite heartened by the fact that CCP are going balls out to make this a fucking good game. And they have the support, they seem to have the investors, and I think that, you know, you're going to see some good stuff over the next, you know, 10 years. I think if you're an Eve player, you're probably seeing less, which is a shame. Anyway, there we go. Look at that. That was one long rant about about nothing. No new Titans. Where's my Mark II Titan? I'm joking. But there we go. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time.